Hi guys, today we are going to read the Mariah Delany Lending Library Disaster by Sheila Greenwald, and we are beginning chapter 7. By the end of the second week, Mariah was less nervous. Soon the first batch of borrowed books would be coming in, and if not, the money profits would begin to flow. This promise of money cheered her up. How she loved the sound of change jingling in her pockets. How happy it made her to hear it there and to know that when she walked into a shop, she could price things and really consider buying them. Her parents, when they had observed this delight that she took in having money, were alarmed. Whom did she get it from, Gertrude? Her father had one asked. We who care so little for material things, who value the mind and the intellect, have produced a child who cares only for the purse, for money and the things it can buy. She's a materialist. Let's face it, Mrs. Delany had sighed dramatically. Let's hope it's a phase and she'll outgrow it. But Mariah did not think she was a materialist. She didn't compete with other girls over clothes and possessions. She just enjoyed the game of figuring out ways of making money. She enjoyed knowing that she could make money and have it if she liked. She considered herself to be a business person. When she was in the middle of an enterprise, she experienced a pleasure and excitement that she got from nothing else. Once her grandfather had told her how he had gone to work at the age of 12 to support his widowed mother and 4 brothers. He had sold hankies on the street and then saved to rent a store. He told her the story so that she would know about his hard childhood. But Mariah had envied him. How she would love to go out and make the family's money. Then her parents would be grateful and would appreciate her enterprising talents. They wouldn't complain about her. When she told her grandfather how she felt, he had looked astonished and said, "Why, Mariah, you're a businesswoman," which was exactly what she wanted to be. The third week of the lending library began without a single book being returned, including Best Desserts of the World and Gourmet Tips, which Mrs. Delany seemed to talk about and hunt for several times a day. At first, Mariah was delighted because each day a book was overdue meant money. But as the days went by, the collection dwindled. No books came in, and no more books were borrowed. Mariah became apprehensive. Finally, she posted an announcement in school saying that there could be no more borrowing by those who had not returned books. That did it. No one came to borrow, and no one came to return. The Mariah Delany Lending Library was dead as a doornail. Over 150 books were gone, and not a penny had come in. Mariah was frantic. "Pinkwater," she cornered her tall friend in school, "why don't you return your books?" "Oh, gosh, Mariah, I keep forgetting." "Every day you forget costs you." "I don't know how to tell you this, Mariah. I just feel terrible, but I don't know what happened to them. Last night I looked and looked. I think they're just lost." "Just lost? What's that supposed to mean?" Mariah yelped. "Well, some person, I won't mention any name, was seen gift wrapping one of your precious books." "Gift wrapping? You mean to give away?" "Draw your own conclusions, but I think it's a lot worse than they're just being lost." Mariah's heart thudded and sank. Later in the lunchroom, Pinkwater pretended not to see Mariah and sat down at a distant corner table. On the lunch line, Mariah grabbed Bellamy. "You better return my book," she said. "But I'm right in the middle." "Then you have to pay." "But I don't get an allowance." "I can't pay." "Then return the books right away and you'll owe me." "But Mariah, I'm your friend." Mariah didn't answer her, and Bellamy joined Pinkwater at the corner table. In the middle of the third week, Henry Delany called from the living room to his wife, who was preparing dinner in the kitchen. "Gertrude, my Dickens collection is gone. I can't believe it. It was right here. It's always been right here. I just went to look up something in Great Expectations, and it's gone. They're all gone, along with my best desserts and gourmet tips and puff pastry." This is incredible. I couldn't have misplaced the entire set, Gertrude. Those books are very valuable. They're a special limited edition worth a small fortune. We really should be better organized about our books, Mrs. Delany said. Perhaps this is a lesson to us. We must arrange them better and make lists of what we've got. But I was certain about the Dickens. It was right here. Henry Delany scratched his scalp and looked miserable. Mariah's stomach turned right over. This was the first time an enterprise of hers had resulted in such horrendous problems. How did a lending library get its books back? Obviously, she did not have the proper technique, and obviously, she was involved up to the eyeballs. In fact, as she sat on the edge of her bed contemplating her library problems, as well as all the homework she had let slide due to business affairs, her entire throat began to lock off, and something like tears could be felt to rise up, though she managed to hold them back. Mariah was no crier. However, she was fast getting into a really bad mess, and she needed help. Who could she turn to? Her mother? Murder had been mentioned. Her father? Well, he would surely share her mother's point of view after he heard what had become of his priceless set of Dickens. Irwin wouldn't understand. Her grandfather was in Florida. At dinner, everything got worse. That set of Dickens was probably worth more than anything we own, Gertrude, though not actually a first edition. It's pretty close. You know, I wonder if it's stolen. Mrs. Delany looked at her husband sympathetically. I just can't imagine how that would have happened, dear. There's been no evidence of anyone breaking in. My jewelry and the silver are untouched. Would anybody have gone to the trouble to sneak into our apartment and take a set of the Dickens? You thought your cookbooks had been stolen, Henry told her. So I did. At the time, I couldn't think of any other way they could have left my kitchen. They're so much a part of my life, those books. I reached for them without even thinking. To find out how many eggs or what to set the oven for, not finding them in their proper place is like not finding a trusted part of myself. I know what you mean exactly, Henry Delany looked truly mournful. A part of oneself. You don't realize how important these things have become and what they mean to you until you've lost them. He looked over at Mariah and smiled. We've called Mariah a materialist, and here we are, hopelessly, helplessly attached to our books. Why, if I knew who took my Dickens, I'd wring his neck. Mrs. Delany reached over and patted her husband's hand soothingly. Then she noticed Mariah's dish. Mariah, aren't you hungry? You haven't touched your food. I don't feel good. Why don't you go and lie down? Perhaps it's all the work you've been doing lately. Mrs. Delany's tone was so sweet and understanding that Mariah could hardly stand it. She went into her room and curled up on her bed. Inside herself, she felt a great black space gathering. Ooh, Mariah whimpered. I need help, somebody. Then she thought of Lizzie Phipps and began to feel a little better enough at least to fall asleep.